Noor is a talentless loser born into a simple hillside family. His only skill is parrying, but he dreams of becoming the strongest adventurer out there. Despite numerous setbacks and rejections, he trains tirelessly for years to master the elusive parry skills and becomes the most powerful. The story begins with Noor, who is stuck in his dead-end job of cleaning out the gutters and canals of the city at the break of dawn. Before morning, he has to finish removing all the wastes and put back their wood coverings before the citizens pay him. After his morning work, he heads outside the city towards construction site, where he carries sacks and does manual labor the whole day. When afternoon arrives, Noor hears someone screaming for help in the nearby dungeon. He quickly runs to help and sees a group of knights protecting a tied-up girl against the power. Then scenes shift in the past. 15 years ago, as the Northwest Clay's kingdom, Noor is still just a normal boy doing chores at home. He tends to the fire, boils some hot water, and prepares hot tea for his ailing mother. Afterward, he has to go to the fields and tend to their flock of goats. He promises his mom he won't go beyond the rocks that borders their land, and also promises to bring home a wild rabbit for dinner. Before he leaves, his mother wipes away the sodden Noor's face and apologizes for being a burden for him. All she wants is for Noor to live the life he wants. Later that night, Noor prepares their rabbit soup for dinner, but when he brings a bowl for his mother has already passed away. He buries his mom next to his dad, and Noor's life living alone begins. He does his best tending to their gardens, hunting wild game in the forest, and taking care of their goats and chickens. Likewise, he keeps their house clean and even tries to read the boring books left in the house. He also collects firewood, catches fish in the nearby river, and herds the goats around the grassy hill, and he was all alone in his house with no one to eat his meals with. One night, Noor is exploring the shelves of their house when he accidentally simplified after finding a book. Upon opening the book, he was amazed to see that it was the story his father used to read to him when he was still alive. His father used to tell him stories of an adventurer who slayed a gigantic dragon with his friends, learned spells and magic from an old sorcerer, removed a curse put on a dark forest, and even obtained the medicine that cures everything from the king of the dead. Even against anything and how dark their situation is, the adventurer never gives up and fights evil for the sake of his friends. Noor was so happy listening to his father's words, and now he also remembers his mother's wish of him living the life he wants. The next day, he leaves out a lot of food for their animals, and Noor visits the grave of his parents. He offers them flowers and tells them that for the first time in his life he will be leaving town and he will become an adventurer, just like the ones in his father's stories. He heads down the hill they call home, and Noor stares at the stones marking the end of their land. He hardens his resolve and walks past the barrier protecting their home. When night falls, Noor is scared of all the noises coming out of the forest. Nevertheless, he perseveres, and a few days later, he finally reaches a city. After asking directions from the soldiers guarding the gate, Noor steps into his first foray into civilization. His eyes widen to see so many people around doing various things. He walks past vendors selling fruits and even sees an adventurer passing by. His eyes are filled with wonder and happiness as he heads to his destination, the Adventurers Guild. Unfortunately, the man behind the counter takes one look at Noor and shoos him away. The guild is not a place for kids. Noor insists that the guards already told him he can be an adventurer if he just applied here, but the man just points out that he will worry his parents. Noor explains that his parents are both dead, which finally catches the attention of the man. The man then asks for his name and tells him to go to the training school for different classes first. He explains to Noor that people hoping to register with the Royal Capital's Adventurer Guild has to go to lessons at the Royal Training School. There, they will get training based on their job class. If no one really wants to be an adventurer, he first needs to acquire some skills. This may be in the art of the sword or in the school of magic. Noor smiles at the explanation and he's filled with determination. Thus, Noor heads to the Academy for Swordsmanship. Just like in the stories, he will become the swordsman who can defeat a dragon with just the single swing of his blade. Training was intense in the academy, with hopeful adventurers doing their best beside Noor, and Noor is also doing his best to practicing swinging his sword. One student manages to make his training sword blaze with fire, which catches the attention of their teacher. The student celebrates that he awakened his powers, while Noor just goes back to training with renewed single-mindedness. A few months pass and Noor is still swinging his training sword around. However, the instructor tells him that he has done enough. Unfortunately, it looks like he doesn't have the talent to the sword. Noor insists that he just needs a little more time, but the instructor has made his decision. Any more training would just be a waste of Noor's time. The only thing he managed to master was parrying to evade an attack. Thus, he advises Noor to choose another path besides the sword. After all, there are other training schools too. Thus, Noor heads over the training school for warriors and tanks. He now wants to become the shield that protects his fellow adventurers. Inside this school, he trained his body by pulling weights and building muscles. A few months later, the instructor informs Noor that he has very good determination, but all he managed to earn is a good body. The art of the warrior is not for Noor. If he forces himself to continue, he might lose his life in the training. Noor once again changes schools and he heads toward the hunter's school next. Unfortunately, the instructor there also found out that he cannot handle any sort of delicate weaponry. This goes on at other schools too. At the feast school, the master thief informs him he cannot dismantle traps, and he also doesn't have the ability to sense other people's presence. At the magician school, the only magic he can produce is a tiny flame at the tip of his finger. At the cleric school, the priest sadly explains to him that he can only use low-level healing. Noor sadly heads back to the Adventurers Guild, where the man there was surprised to learn that Noor didn't manage to learn one decent skill. He spent 3 months at each of the schools, but at last he didn't obtain a class. With a heavy heart, the man rejects Noor's application to be an adventurer. Noor leaves the city with his eyes downcast, and he is not a prodigy meant to become an adventurer. Noor goes back to his house and heads to his mom and dad's grave, apologizing to both of them for failing them. He admits that he does not possess any talents, but still he refuses to give up and decides to train even harder from now on. By carving wood, he creates a wooden sword for himself, and just as his swordsmanship instructors advise, he decides to practice the one skill that he has repeatedly hoping that it will enable him to master a new skill. Having neither sandbags nor training dummies, this unfortunate kid begins to practice his parrying skill with ropes and sticks. He trains mornings after nights for 1 year consistently and masters is to the point that he becomes able to parry 10 swords in one breath. Even though it has been a year, Noor still hasn't unlocked any new skills, but bro still has high hopes because he is getting better at parrying and continuously trains this single skill for the next 3 years as well. He has grown much bigger after this time jump, and his training dummies have changed as well. They have taken on the shape of much larger swords now and look more organized. Noor can even shake 100 swords in one breath now, but what still hasn't changed is bro's poor skill set. He realizes that if this keeps going on, he will never be able to become an adventurer, but the dream of becoming the strongest adventurer keeps him going because he has trained the same skill for more than 4 years. He has so much innate strength that he can even break his sword just by squishing it with his bare hands. He gets his hopes up when suddenly he notices that he can heal his own hand for a moment, so he continues training like a champ for 10 more years. After this time period, Noor's parry skill becomes so overpowered to the point that a single slash from his sword can shake the entire forest around him. It is all thanks to his restless training for more than 14 years that he can now parry 1,000 wooden swords at once, but he still isn't satisfied with it because unfortunately he hasn't managed to unlock any new skills. But bro decides to give it one last shot and bids goodbye to his parents' graves before leaving for the town. Upon reaching the Adventure Guild, he submits another form with the added skills parry, low heel, stone throw, feather step, and tiny flame. These skills look very measly, so the new guild receptionist suggests that Noor go to a training school first. However, Noor has already gone through that process, so the receptionist politely refuses to register him as an adventurer. I mean, people should really see what Noor is capable of before judging him. The guild master comes there and fails to recognize Noor at first sight, but upon closer inspection he realizes that this bulky, tall man is the same frail kid from 14 years ago. Noor criminally undermines how strong his parry skill is, and tells the guild master that after 14 years of restless training, he has only been able to improve his parrying skill a little. Really, Noor, a little? Anyway, the guild master expresses how much he wants Noor to achieve his dream. But because Noor doesn't have at least 2 useful skills which are the prerequisites for becoming an E-ranked adventurer, he can't do anything. However, the guild master remembers a way to register Noor as an adventurer by assigning him the extinct F rank, the lowest of the lowest ranks that perhaps nobody else in this world has. The guild master tells Noor not to get too excited because F-ranked adventurers have many restrictions and conditions on taking jobs. For example, an F-rank adventurer is forbidden from taking any adventurer quests that involve finalizing anything or going out of the city to gather items. The only thing that is allowed are miscellaneous tasks inside the city. Basically, if Noor becomes an F-ranked adventurer, he will be an unofficial laborer. Still, he is okay with that, and so he gets his adventure license from the guild master. Being overjoyed by this achievement, Noor heads out of the Adventurers Guild and immediately starts taking quests in the town. Using his physical enhancement skill, he becomes able to lift way more than the average person and delivers heavy items with ease. Using his feather step skill, he captures a lost cat without revealing his presence and delivers it back to the commissioner. The cat puts scratches on his face, so he uses his low heal skill and immediately heals up his wounds. In the evening, he continues to train his parry skill even more, and at night, he cooks delicious meals using his low flame skill for the elderly in need. With these measly skills, he has become useful to the people of this town, and that itself is enough to fill his heart with contentment. The next day he does cleaning work, laboring work, and even helps with construction, and after completing his commission for the day, that is when he hears the screams of a girl begging for help from the faraway cave. Noor rushes to the cave to help the person in need and becomes shocked to see that a huge minotaur with an axe is trying to attack an innocent-looking girl. There are many knights who are trying to protect the girl, but they stand no chance against this terrifying monster. Seeing that all of these knights are dying in vain, Noor steps up with a sword and uses his only skill, Parry, to counter the monster's deadly attacks. Although he has distracted monster for long enough for the girl to escape, the dumb girl is too terrified to move. Eventually, the monster targets her again, but Noor jumps in front of her and parries another attack, which ends up destroying his sword. As the monster puts all his strength into his next attack, Noor parries once again with all his might, which causes the monster's axe to ricochet and hit its own neck, decapitating it completely. With the monster dead, the girl gets free of her constraints and thanks Noor for saving her life. She asks for his name, but because he doesn't think of himself as anyone important, he doesn't tell her anything and walks away from the limelight. Upon returning to the city, Noor starts calling himself a weakling for barely surviving against a wild cow. Bro didn't even realize that the cow he defeated just now was a powerful demon minotaur. He truly is the most clueless person in anime history. And with that, we have come to the end of this part. Stay tuned for next part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.